burning loud, crack a cold one, gather round, we're running with the crowd. Someone said they saw a light shoot across the sky. Now we're all 10 drinks deep, asking what and why. Static on the radio, something in the air.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're here at the Oracle Paranormal Festival today. And did you get it? There you go. All right. Joining live from RCJ Productions today. And I want to bring on our next guest of the day, and it is Robert Zucker. So are you ready, Robert? All right, let's bring you on here. All right, you're good.
Ready to start? Okay. Welcome to Oracle, Arizona, the transition from digging gold to digging in as a community. We're going to explore the evolving history of Oracle from its early mining days to Buffalo Bill to the mid-20th century. I'm Robert Zucker, a local author, publisher, and former journalism instructor at the University of Arizona and Pima College. I published Treasures of the Santa Catalina Mountains, which covers the history of mining in the Catalinas, the story of Oracle, Buffalo Bill's mines, and the legend of the Iron Door mine. I'm also the author of several other books, including a paranormal study of lucid dreaming called Twilight of Consciousness, and a study of mysticism called Kabbalah's Secret Circles. I also published a 3-volume set on Tucson entertainment between the 1960s through the early 2000s, titled Entertaining Tucson Across the Decades. There's a free newspaper right up front for you to take if you'd like. All these books are available here or online at Amazon. Now, this talk will be a mix of mostly original photos and some imagined scenes from Google's image generating AI program. Hopefully, these AI images will help you spark your imagination. All AI images are clearly marked with an AI at the right corner of each image. A comment about AI, though. I'd first used AI to help in my research for this talk, but soon realized that it was feeding me false facts and non-existent sources. Even after berating the AI for lying to me, it promised it would do better, but continued to hallucinate its own facts and conclusions. So I'm only using AI for the nice photos. This is, whoops, back one here. This is out of order here. Okay, this is a map of the Santa Catalina Mountains. There's Oracle. Unfortunately, my pointer doesn't point on the screen. Let's see if I could. Nope. Well, where the red dot is pretty much where Oracle is. There's a San Pedro to the right. The Old Hat and American Flag mines were just to the east of Oracle. Campo Bonito, where Buffalo Bill Cody had his mining interests, was just south of Oracle. There's a spot near at Catalina State Park where the Romero Ruins exists. See the current Highway 77 going up that leads to Oracle? Back in the pioneering days, this road actually cut through the Catalinas. The Canada del Oro, Spanish for Canyon of Gold, flows out of the Catalina Mountains near today's Saddlebrook and meets the Santa Cruz River near Ina and the freeway, which is by my house. The route into the Catalinas was a stage trail to Oracle and Camp Grant. You can still see the remnants of that road carved into the mountainside. And if you look where the Canada del Oro is coming out, just above that ridge is the old road that went up to Oracle. Back in there are some of the richest gold finds that were located. The property is off limits now as it's owned by the U of A, and to the left of that is the biosphere. This is a photo I took looking east from the mouth of the CDO. This is a Google map that shows Oracle today. We are here along American Avenue, and I'll just have to point it out. Whoops, I can't go far. American Avenue cutting across the top part of the screen there. I can't point out all the others because my pointer isn't working, but I mentioned the Acadia Ranch, the Oracle Inn Steakhouse. Across the street is the Mountain View Hotel. And just west of that is the Christmas mine claim. And above that is the New Year's mine claim. You see right in about the middle of the screen, going up a little bit, is a big empty square rectangle. That's the Christmas mine, and above that is New Year's mine. This is the heart of our story that takes place where Oracle sprouted from a mining camp into a flourishing community and health destination. But before we get into that part of Oracle's history, let's step back about 500 and 1,000 years before the Spanish began to settle the land. The Hohokam lived throughout this area until about the 1450s. Even today, you can still find pieces of pottery near the San Pedro and throughout the mountains. I found this piece along a dry creek west of here, southwest of here. You can see other pieces just nearby. This is a map from 1698, made during the lifetime of Father Eusebio Kino. Some people attribute Kino as drawing this map. It shows numerous villages along the San Pedro, and at the time, the Spanish missionaries were just being established. When Coronado led his expedition in 1540, possibly up the San Pedro River in his search for the 7 cities of gold, he would have encountered people living along the San Pedro, just like Father Kino did over 100 years later. And here's a closer look. Oh, okay, you see the mouse here. The San Pedro is along this area here, which got kind of cut off. But Father Kino did not actually name the Santa Catalina Mountains. He named the village of Santa Catalina, which is right here. This mysterious village was originally near Picacho Peak, but it was moved sometime after Kino's death, somewhere in the Santa Catalina Mountains, and got twisted up into the legend of the Iron Door Mine. But that's another presentation. This is an original map from 1879, over 100 years later and several decades after Americans began to settle the land. This map shows Tucson, Camp Lowell, the San Pedro, Old Camp Grant, and the railroad, which was to begin operation the following year. There's a spot that's marked ruins in the location of the Romero ruins, which pioneers noted in other maps and newspaper articles. Here's the Canada del Oro and the trail through the Catalinas to get to the spot called Water. Here's a Canyon del Oro, and then there's a spot called Water. On the north side, which is probably where the new mines and eventually Oracle was located. When prospectors left California after the gold rush in 1855, many heard stories about gold flowing out of the Canada del Oro, or Canyon of Gold. This is an actual photo of Congress Street in 1880, full of saloons and hotels, which fed and sheltered the hungry miners who would come in from the mountains every few weeks or months. There were mines operating all over the mountain ranges surrounding Tucson by the 1880s. Now that the scene is set, in this AI image, sometime around 1860, a young Albert Weldon departs from the ship called the Oracle, owned by his uncle, that brought him from Canada to America. Weldon arrived in Tucson years later when it was still a dusty adobe village, about 3,500 people. Tucson was the commercial and social capital of the Southwest, between San Diego and San Antonio. Because the population was outgrowing available housing, people were living in tents, wagon yards, and crowded boarding houses. Even back then, Tucson had a housing problem. Between 1873 and 1876, Weldon was a prospector for hire. He spent those years scouting the surrounding mountains, the Rincons, the Santa Ritas, and finally the Catalinas. Weldon noticed that while the southern edge of the Catalinas facing Tucson was rugged and steep, the north side had gradual foothills and quartz outcroppings that indicated deep mineral veins. In this AI-inspired image, Weldon sees promise in the quartz that might lead him to gold. Often gold is found within quartz. He called this claim the Oracle in honor of the ship that took him to America. And this is the point where I'd introduce Ed and his little piece of gold that he had found. Want to show it to the audience, Ed?
Sure.
You want to use this mic? Since you're recording it.
Test 1, 2. I belong to some metal detecting and prospecting clubs in Tucson. Tucson Desert Gold Diggers, Gold Prospectors Association, Tucson. And anyway, I've been metal detecting for gold nuggets in the field for about 300 or 400 hours in 3 different states. I heard that down in the Santa Rita Mountains, around Graterville is a known area of gold nuggets. So I went down there onto the GPAA claims there as a club member, and I found my first gold nugget. And what I located came out of the ground, a big black slimy thing. I thought it was a large piece of lead. I called my buddy over and I said, "What's this big piece of slimy lead doing out here?" And he started scratching on it, jumping up and down, hooting and hollering. And he said, "We finally found one." And what this is it's a really good example of a hydrothermal gold precipitate, where mineralized gold suspended in a high temperature, high pressure fluid actually rose to the surface, filled a void, cooled in temperature, dropped in pressure, and the gold precipitated out. This little stone weighs about 3.6 ounces. There's about 1.8 ounces of gold in it, sponge-like all the way around the perimeter. So, best rock I ever found. Thank you.
Oh, I've already got one.
All right.
I'll just put it over here. At the same time, prospector Alexander McKay, a Spanish immigrant who had been in the territory since the 1860s, was drawn. Between McKay and Weldon was eventually the spark for the new settlement of Oracle. They probably met at a saloon on Congress Street or a local boarding house. In this AI-imagined photo, McKay and Weldon are at the Congress Hall Saloon with saloon owner Charlie Brown standing as the two discuss their mining ventures. McKay was already familiar with the Catalinas' mineral potential and was looking for a partner to prospect the north side of the mountains. The area had been largely unexplored because of hostile Apaches. Notice a large collection of minerals behind Charlie Brown. He was a weekend prospector, as were most Tucson businessmen at the time. Weldon's observations allowed him to approach James Jimmy Lee, a prominent Tucsonan who owned the Eagle Flour Mill, with enough confidence to ask for a grub stake to explore the north side of the Catalinas for gold. A grub stake is an arrangement between a financier, the grub, and the prospector known as the stake, spelled S-T-A-K-E, S-T-A-K-E, sort of like a line of credit. In this case, James Lee provided the grub, which was food, tools, and animals. Weldon would provide his mining skills as the stake. In this AI imagined scene, the three men are entering into a grub stake agreement at Lee's flour mill. Notice the donkeys that snuck into the background. That was an AI inspiration. This is an original photo of James Lee. And an interesting side note about Lee. In 1871, he was one of 150 participants in the vigilante force that massacred over 100 Native American, men, women, and children who were camped out near Camp Grant, just northeast of Oracle. After an outcry, especially from the East Coast, President Ulysses Grant threatened to put the territory under martial control and demanded a trial. They were acquitted of all charges by a jury of Tucson residents who were sympathetic to the raid in retaliation for Apache hostilities. This adobe cabin was built by Alexander McKay and claimed to be the first house in Oracle. This photo was taken in 1903 when it was part of the Bayless family sheep ranch with newer additions. The building is still standing. On Christmas Day, 1878, Weldon McKay located some ore west of the Oracle claim and made a claim for the Christmas mine. 1 week later, on New Year's Day, 1879, they staked the claim for the New Year's mine, just north of the Christmas mine. The Christmas mine was reported to have a 4-foot wide vein of gold-bearing quartz. But as they continued to dig into that vein, they tapped into an underground stream at a depth of 40 feet. The shaft flooded so quickly they had to abandon the dig. That, however, became the underground source of water to sustain the growing mining camps. A year later, Lee and others discovered a ledge of mineralized rock nearby. This image is the actual mineral claim filed by McKay for the Christmas mine. And you can try to get closer to that. Oh, I can grab and move. Good. This, let's see here. Oh, I need to go back here. This is a plat map, first approved in 1905, showing the survey lines for the Christmas and New Year's mine and the Oracle claim. I found the mineral certificates for the Christmas mine and the New Year's mine, as you saw in the previous slide, but I'm unable to find the original claim submitted for the Oracle. But word of Weldon McKay's findings encouraged prospectors to flock the north side of the Catalina Mountains. Nearly 70 claims, mostly for gold, were staked from the American Flag Ranch to Apache Peak. Weldon had a bush camp, mining camp, called Weldon's Camp, probably near the Oracle claim. There was an ample supply of water and timber available. A nearby spring was used as a grotto. In the late 1870s, Isaac Lorraine or Lauren of Martinique developed the American Flag Mine and American Flag Cattle Ranch, located southeast of present-day Oracle. By December 1880, there were enough people in the area that the American Flag Post Office was established. This is an actual photo of the American Flag building, which is still standing. There's a recorded event which took place at Weldon's camp connected to the fabled legend of the Iron Door Mine. An article in the March 1880 Arizona Weekly Star told about two prospectors who had come from deep within the Santa Catalinas, spelt with an R, as they were called then. And the group joined the miners at Weldon's camp one night in February. They described their incredible journey into the rugged mountains to follow a map that led them to the Iron Door mine. They showed the group nuggets of gold they reportedly took from the tunnel, believed to be from the Iron Door mine. Nearby, a reporter from the Arizona Weekly Star took notes to publish a newspaper article about this amazing find. This AI image portrays the miners at a campfire and the two prospectors gleefully showing off their haul while a journalist takes notes. This is a newspaper article published in March 1880. That spurred the legends about the connections between the lost city and the lost Iron Door mine, and it became the popular version of the legend. This was the first time the actual name Iron Door Mine was published, and it helped perpetuate the legend to this day. In the early, these slides are out of order.
Shall we reset the order?
No, somehow they're just not coming up as they should be by number.
Okay.
So I know the slides, so I'll just go back and forth to them. Eventually, the Acadia Ranch evolved into, well, I see that's, let me try to go back here. Fortunately, there's not a lot of people to worry about. Okay, let me. By 1880, the Oracle property, Old Hat, and nearby American Flag mines were sold for $100,000 to the Richardson Mining Company of New York. That would be equivalent to $3 million today. That summer, a successful Wiley Box sold his mine of the same name, an extension of the Oracle claim, for several thousands of dollars. In this AI-inspired scene of that event, with Alexander McKay, J.M. Haskell, and Mayor Leatherwood signing the sales agreement with a representative from Richardson Mining Company in the Congress Hall Saloon looking on. The new owners expected to expand operations into a massive mining district. As investors, their involvement was short-lived. The high cost of pumping water from the flooded Christmas shaft and fluctuating costs of silver made the Easterners pull back. In the early 1880s, Edwin Dodge and his wife, Lilia, I think that's how you pronounce her name, Lilia, built the Acadia Ranch. It originally started as a cattle business, but soon became a famous resort for travelers. This is an original undated photo of the Acadia Ranch from the Arizona Memory Project. A post office was opened up at the Acadia Ranch in 1885, where Dodge served as a postmaster for 16 years. While the community wanted to name the office Acadia Ranch, the U.S. Post Office rejected it because it had two words. So they settled on Oracle to honor Albert Weldon's discovery, and the town of Oracle was official. Makes me wonder, though, what about San Francisco, San Jose, San Mateo? Those are two words, but they were accepted. A paranormal side note about the Acadia Ranch, when it served as a health facility. This is the town's most famous haunted site. Visitors and patients have reported seeing a woman in a vintage nurse's uniform wandering the building. Legend says she contracted TB while caring for the patients and died there. She's often heard walking the halls at night, making her rounds. This AI image recreates what the ward might have looked like. And here's an AI version of a floating ghost in the patient's ward. People still report hearing footsteps when the building is empty. This is an original 1883 map. Apparently, Oracle is not marked yet, but Old Hat District is. And notice how the trail, let's see, it's kind of hard to see the mouse, but the trail to Oracle and Camp Grant follows the Canada del Oro through the Catalinas rather than today's route, which goes around the western edge of the mountains. There's also down here a reference to ruins of Old Pueblo, which is where Francisco Romero built his home on the top of ancient ruined structures in today's Catalina State Park. The mountains at the time were still called the Santa Catalinas with an R. Also, notice the name of the Gold Canyon for the Canada del Oro, and the Southern Pacific Railroad, which brought the train to Tucson in 1880, is marked. The train changed the entire community, making Tucson a hub for prospectors who were mining the surrounding mountains, and the hundreds of new residents who migrated from the East Coast for better weather and opportunities. Beginning in 1881, a tri-weekly stage brought mail from Tucson to Weldon's camp. Before that, the miners relied on freighters or travelers from Tucson willing to carry letters as a courtesy. By 1882, the camp had grown to 8 buildings. This is an 1887 map showing the Santa Catalina Mountains, still with an R, the American flag, and Oracle for the first time. Push Ridge is also named. And there's Oracle. The year 1901 was a turning point for the fledgling community of Oracle. In January, the post office moved from the Acadia Ranch, where it had been located inside the Dodge's home, to John Estill's new store. He built a small square building for merchandise that was hauled from Tucson to serve the miners. He accepted the position of postmaster, but he sold the store in 1906 to Thomas McCauley, who continued as postmaster. As the town started to grow, the store was expanded and John Lawson became a partner and also served as postmaster until 1915. He was the last territorial postmaster and the first postmaster for the new state of Arizona in 1912. This is a rear view of the Oracle Post Office and General Merchandise Store in the 1909 photo. Corrals are in the foreground and 10 houses stretched to the right. This is a photo of the Oracle Post Office and General Store in 1911. And at close-up, I could get a lot closer, there's somebody standing very menacing or just posing in front of the store. The building became a central hub of activity for Oracle. When the mail arrived from Tucson, the residents would gather at the store and stock up on supplies. Before the store provided a community hub, residents often joked that the only 2 articles reliably available in Oracle were, quote, postage stamps and whiskey, unquote. Oracle was slowly changing from a collection of mining camps into a community. This is an original photo of the Oracle Post Office and General Store, probably from about the 1920s. Another historical photo that shows Oracle General Store and a wagon freight train in front. Oh, no, this is the wrong slide, but there's a couple of old cars in the front here. Here's the wagon train in the front. Whoops. This is the Oracle General Merchandise and Post Office building in the 1930s. The sign advertises cold drinks, restroom, and ladies' restroom. The Thunderbird Kiva occupied the right side of the building and sold Native American artifacts. When the private ownership of gold was criminalized in 1933 and the government became the sole buyer at a fixed price, The Oracle miners shifted their focus to copper, but probably still maintained gold as a byproduct. Or still mine gold as a byproduct. A prominent player in the history of Oracle is William Curley Neal, who arrived in Tucson, Oracle area in about 1878. He was a black man from the Cherokee Nation, now in Oklahoma. He served as a military scout where he met William Buffalo Bill Cody, who became one of the world's best-known entertainers. They became close, lifelong friends, which probably drew Cody to this area. Here's an actual photograph of Neal on his horse. Neal was a true entrepreneur. He operated massive freighting outfits to haul ore daily from the mine at Schultz to the 20-stamp mill at Mammoth along the San Pedro. He had a government contract to carry mail between Tucson, Oracle, and Mammoth, and transported gold bullion to a bank in Tucson by wagon. His wife, Annie Box Neal, occasionally rode shotgun, as she was a legendary sharpshooter. They also owned the 3N Ranch in Oracle. Neal was one of the wealthiest men in the territory. Here's an AI-imagined scene of Neal and his wife riding shotgun, driving the stagecoach through the Canada del Oro. Neal and Annie opened the Mountain View Hotel in 1895. It was the first luxury resort in Arizona that was owned by a black couple and also cared for tuberculosis patients. He used his vast earnings from freighting to finance the hotel. Neal died in 1936 from injuries sustained in an unfortunate automobile accident where a car fell on him while he was underneath. An interesting side note, years ago, while hiking the area to the east of the hotel, I discovered an old automobile frame partially buried in the wash. I understand that auto part is now with the Oracle Historical Society. The Mountain View was later converted into a Baptist church. This is an original photo I took of the building. Also, while exploring the area south of the Mountain View on the south side of American Avenue by the old water tank, I discovered this odd cement marker with a 3N imprinted. Could this be the boundary line of Neal's 3N Ranch? The next few photos are provided by the Oracle Historical Society. This is an original photo of Annie Box Neal, wife of William Neal. Annie was also born in the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. Her family moved to Arizona Territory in the 1870s, where she met and married William Neal at 18 years old. They formed a partnership as well as a marriage. This is an original photo of the Mountain View Hotel. Annie Box is with a group of people in the middle. When the hotel opened in 1895, Annie was a primary manager. She was a founding member of the Oracle social scene and well respected by residents, miners, and now visitors. This original photo is labeled as Race Days with Annie Neal and her sister Josie Box. This is an original photo of Annie in her later years with a shooting trophy given to the winning team in the contest between the Mountain View Hotel and Acadia Ranch. Annie Box died in 1942, 6 years after her husband, William. Let me see if I can get in closer here. This is a plat map of Oracle from 1905. Now let me click here. We'll get in a little bit closer so that you can see. Notice how the American Avenue cuts right through the Christmas claim. And then see the road at section 35 coming up from the south. That's the road, the trail that was coming up through the Santa Catalinas before American Avenue extended where Route 77 is now. This close-up shows a Christmas and New Year's mine. There's the library, the church, and homesteads for Neal, Ray, Estill, the Winters, Ramseys, Bayless, and Stewarts. Notice that the road from Tucson to Oracle comes up from the north through the Catalinas. A new phase of Oracle's history emerged when the world-famous entertainer William Buffalo Bill Cody started to regularly visit Oracle and eventually invest in some mining ventures. Cody's first visit to Oracle was reported in 1901, although he had passed through Arizona since the late 1880s with his popular Wild West show. This poster promotes Buffalo Bill's Wild West and Congress of Rough Riders of the World. It was a touring outdoor arena recreation of battles fought between American soldiers and natives, featuring actual Native Americans. Buffalo Bill and his Wild West show was one of the largest entertainment ventures to tour the world. Cody's regular visits to Oracle were always big news in Tucson and Oracle. Cody and Neil's friendship dated back to the 1860s, where they fought together in the Battle of Summit Springs. There's a spot around Oracle that was called Summit Springs before it was called Oracle. In his later years, Cody would often spend parts of the winter in Oracle, staying at either the Mountain View Hotel or with miners in a tent or adobe structure at the Campo Bonito mining camp. This is an actual photo of Cody and William Neal. The Campo Bonito mining was one of the early mining camps formed in the Old Hat mining district just south of Oracle, west of the YMCA Triangle Y Ranch. William Burgess, a mining engineer, encouraged Cody to invest in the Campo Bonito mines. He acquired many of the claims years ago and was convinced that they contained valuable placer deposits. This is a map. Whoops. This is a map of the Campo Bonito mines. A collection of about 24 mining camps that were owned for a time by Cody. The mines did produce a bit of quartz bearing gold, which Cody used to impress investors. My bolo tie has a sample of that Cody stone. However, gold did not produce as much as Cody would have hoped. Over the next few years, Cody stayed in Oracle during the moderate desert winters so he could see how his investments in his mining ventures progressed. During the winter of 1911, Cody encouraged Colonel Daniel Burns Dyer, a former Indian agent at Fort Reno, to join his mining venture. The Cody Dyer Company controlled 45 claims by February 1911. This is a copy of the stock certificate issued by the Cody Dyer Arizona Mining and Milling Company, signed by Cody and issued to Cody for 1,000 shares. Each share was valued at $1. Originally, Cody and his partners formed the Campo Bonito Mining Company in 1910 with $600,000 in capital. A year later, he reorganized his holdings into the Cody Dyer Arizona Mining and Milling Company, and it was capitalized at $5 million. But the cost of pumping water from the mines and the low yield of ore meant he rarely saw a profit. It's estimated that Cody invested and lost at least $500,000 in his Arizona claims. That would be the equivalent of $12.5 million today. While some gold was recovered, it was tungsten that saved the mines from going under. This is an article from the 1911 Weekly Journal Miner describing that a load of tungsten was headed for Germany from Campo Bonito. Scheelite, a high-grade ore from tungsten, was also a valuable mineral used to light up the filaments for Thomas Edison's new light bulbs. This is a magazine ad from the General Electric Company to promote Edison's new discovery, but that only lasted a few years. Unfortunately for Cody, there was a marked decrease in the overall production of tungsten in the U.S. starting in 1911. This was mainly because there was a lack of a market for tool steel, which tungsten was mainly used. The only deposit of scheelite in the state was at the Cody Dyer mines. This is an actual photo of Cody with some Oracle residents in front of the Acadia in 1909. At the time, he reportedly said he walked nearly 150 miles in 4 days to inspect the Old Hat and Campo Bonito districts. He made repeated yearly winter visits to Oracle until his death in 1917. This original photo of Cody was taken in 1910 with William Neal and several others in front of the Acadia. Cody was known to carry around a pure gold nugget from Campo Bonito in his pocket. Worth $60 at the time, the 3.17 ounce nugget today would be valued at over $152,000. This original photo was taken in 1911 with Cody dressed as Santa Claus to the mine workers' children in Oracle. Cody and a group of partners bought the Southern Belle gold mine in March 1911 for $100,000. A year later, on Christmas Day 1912, Cody again played Santa Claus for the children of Oracle. This is an original photo of Cody and his wife, Louisa. Cody nearly got cold feet on his wedding day, and he felt like he was, quote, signing a death warrant to his freedom, unquote. However, they spent 51 years together. When he was a household name in Tucson and Oracle, his marriage was already at its lowest point. He filed for divorce in 1904, but the judge dismissed his suit, telling him, quote, being a hero to the world doesn't excuse being a bad husband at home, unquote. Louisa and Bill stayed together until his death. Both Cody and Neal were interested in the legend of the Iron Door Mine. This undated newspaper article, probably from the 1930s, quotes Neal about their endeavors to find the lost mine. Both of them were avid believers in the legend. This is an actual photograph of La Ventana, or the window, which is a natural 15 by 25 foot rock arch that Neal saw in the Santa Catalinas. In that newspaper article, Neal said, quote, what I think happened, in reference to the Iron Door mine, is that an earthquake we had in 1878 buried the mine. You see, before that time, we could cut through the Canada del Oro to Tucson, right through where the hole in the mountain, what they call the window, is now. The earthquake tumbled all that in. I think myself that the mine is on the Tucson side of the Santa Catalina Mountains, buried under all of that rock. They say that if you go to a point in the mountains where you can look through the window, you can see the San Javier Mission 9 miles to the south. The mine lies exactly in that line, unquote. And you can see through the window, going directly south, would be where San Javier Mission is located. This is an original photo of Kobe's cabin at Campo Bonito. This small wooden cabin was built about 1912 and had been used by Cody until his death in 1917. In this original photo, Cody is walking past the cabin. Perhaps it's the cabin at Campo Bonito. This mining property had a 100-ton stamp mill to crush ore that was powered by a steam engine. They also had a blacksmith shop, an assay office, and bunkhouses. Here's an actual photo of Cody at Campo Bonito Mines looking over an ore sample. Despite his losing venture, he kept his enthusiasm for the area. One other potential, though, was the Southern Belle, which was a certified gold mine. But it was too hard to reach and transport ore, so that recovery was not deemed viable. And this is about all that's left of the of Campo Bonito. The fireplace is probably from a mess hall or Cody's cabin. A wash basin still sits nearby. This began the slow decline of mining in the area. And this is a photo I took several decades ago at Campo Bonito. This large stone building on the hijinks site was built by Cody's adopted son, Johnny Baker, about a decade after Cody died. La Casa del Hijinks, as it was called, was a museum of sorts to showcase some of Cody's personal effects. The property had gone through several owners over the decades. While visiting the property years ago, I saw some mining tailings piled behind the house, which is probably the original hijinks claim, just north of Campo Bonito. Some other prominent local Oracle residents include rancher George Stone Wilson, who started Rancho Linda Vista in 1910. He came to Oracle from Boston as a college freshman with an injured lung and asthma. The crew and cast of the film, Mine with the Iron Door, stayed at his ranch and at the Triangle L Ranch. This is an original photo of George Wilson. William Bloodgood Trowbridge purchased the thriving Triangle L Dude Ranch in 1924. His efforts helped complete the Oracle School and Oracle Union Church. He donated his land to the College of Agriculture at the University of Arizona for grazing research. However, part of that site became a controversial landfill containing hazardous waste and radioactive materials. This is an original drawing of Trowbridge. Whoops. In 1920, Harold Bell Wright, a famous author, suffered from tuberculosis. In 1915, after a serious car accident in California, he sought out the dry and mild climate of the Catalina Mountains. Wright was also a long-term guest at the Acadia Ranch during the 1920s, and he spent time at Rancho Linda Vista, where he reportedly worked on the manuscript and film script for his book, Mine with the Iron Door, that was published in 1923, followed by the movie of the same name. Wright also built a permanent home in east of Tucson, near Speedway in Wilma. The streets of the Harold Bell Wright estates still bear the names of his character book titles like Barbara Worth and Shepherd Hills. The quote here from the preface to his book was, "And yet, those who look for it can still find color in the Canada del Oro. Romance and adventure still live in the Canyon of Gold. The treasures of life are not hidden in a lost mine behind the iron door." This is a photograph. This 1924 photograph was taken in front of the Oracle store during the filming of the movie Mine with the Iron Door, adapted from Harold Bell Wright's book. Actor Raymond Hatton is squatting on the porch. Many Oracle residents were cast as extras. This film was a big event in Oracle that brought national attention to this small community. Another famous resident of Oracle was William Bill Huggett, who worked in a Minnesota mine and also contracted tuberculosis. So he moved to Arizona about 1903 and worked as a guide at the Grand Canyon and in northern Arizona. Bill was also a well-known photographer. Some of his work is in the Oracle Historical Society's archives. This is an original photo from his private collection. By 1915, Huggett was the owner of a stables and guide business at the San Marcos Hotel in Chandler. In 1922, he met and married his second wife, Muriel Denny's, at the San Marcos. Her family was wealthy and she inherited a fortune from her grandfather. Bill and Muriel moved to Johnson, Arizona, where they bought the 7-Dash Ranch. It operated as the Dude Ranch, and Bill was a partner and chief guide. In 1924, they moved to Oracle and bought the 3C Ranch. Muriel died in November 1929 from complications after surgery. It is said that Bill went on a months-long drunken binge following her death. This is a photo here. So he went to Castle Hot Springs to dry out, and it was there where he met Elna, and they were married a few months later in 1930. Here she is standing in front of the American Flag Building. After Bill's death, the 3C Ranch was sold and Elna purchased the COD Ranch. Wilma Huggett, their only child, was born in 1932. After Bill's death, Elna and Wilma managed the cattle ranch for another 50 years. This is an original photo of Wilma standing with prospector William Flint Carter at the old miner's cabin at Oracle Ridge in 2003. After Wilma died in 2005, the COD ranch had new ownership and the property was subdivided. There is a painting of this exact scene, and another era has ended. And I meant to bring that painting And I didn't, unfortunately. But it looks exactly like this. I'm not sure who the painter was. These next few photographs are from William Huggett's personal photo album that was passed from Wilma to Flint Carter to myself and then donated to the Oracle Historical Society. This first picture is labeled as Indian Flute Dance. This is a photo of a Papago village. And this photo is labeled as Gap, Arizona, March 21st, 1921. This photo is a nice silhouette of two horse riders. Now, there were many other personalities in Oracle. For example, environmentalist author Edward Abbey used Oracle as his post office address, and he visited frequently, but he never lived here. Where also the Canali family purchased a 160-acre ranch in 1903 that later became Oracle State Park. Now, the history of Oracle wouldn't be complete without mentioning several other buildings. The one we are sitting in, the community center, was built in the 1980s by residents who provided their own labor and materials and is a major gathering place for this community. Another landmark is the Oracle Inn Steakhouse and Lounge, originally constructed in 1938 by Boyd Wilson, son of George Wilson, and his partner and a rancher, Gerald Palmer. In 1959 and 1960, Wilson and Palmer, along with 4 other Western ranchers, were part of a national advertising campaign for Yellowstone bourbon whiskey. And today, Oracle is still digging in as a community with just over 3,000 residents who call this mountainside their home. There are still many other people and places to cover, but my time is just about over here. So this concludes my overview of Oracle. Thank you. Are there any questions? Any questions, anyone? Oh, almost an hour. There we go. If you're interested, there's some newspapers up front. One covers history of the Catalinas and mentions Oracle as well too. And another is a catalog of different books that I've published over the past few decades, including Treasures of the Santa Catalina Mountains, which is a very comprehensive history of the Catalina Mountains, Oracle, mining in Arizona, as well as the legend of the Iron Door Mine and Spanish occupation of this area back in the 1700s. And I have there's a table out by the Oracle Historical Society's booth that has some other books that I've published and some other some free magazines, newspapers that you can also pick up. Okay, thank you.